Spectres lives in our brand new Collage engine, a dynamic playground for sonic exploration, full of overlapping loops and contrasting fragments. Inspired by the tape splicing loops of music concrete, the Collage engine reassembles and magnifies segments of samples, building overlapping sequences and granular micro-montages that transcend linear time. Everything feeds into a sophisticated mixer and effects environment, where a sound can be further transformed using a variety of spectral morphing and spatialization tools. In its simplest form, the Collage engine acts as a traditional polyphonic sampler. Load a sound up, and it's spread across the keyboard for chromatic playback. Loops can be added to hone in on and explore specific sections of a sample. To move them around, simply click and drag. Up to 5 loops can be added, with each represented by a different colour. They're automatically stitched together following the sequence of colours in the top right. It's like cutting up a reel of tape into multiple splices and then rearranging them. But here, you can click on any of the splices to take you into its own set of unique parameters for further manipulation. In the loop subsection, you can set the basic format of the loop, including playback direction, precision start and end point, coarse and fine tune, and trigger mode. Shape contains parameters for volume and filter, including envelopes that are triggered on each loop repetition. Random controls introduce variation to each loop iteration. For example, each loop cycle can have randomly generated pan and tune. Every continuous loop parameter in the Collage engine can be modulated. Here, we're modulating the start and end points of a loop, transforming its size and structure over time. There's 3 core modulation sources: an advanced LFO with 22 wave shapes, a drawable step sequencer for custom patterns, and MIDI CC for gestural control. Utilising these different methods of modulation adds movement and depth to a patch, with anything from cyclical rhythmic structures to the happy accidents of interdependent motion. Loop quantize is a setting that aligns all loop cycles to musical grid divisions, like beats, bars, or tempo sync divisions. Any loops that are phasing out of time will be pulled into subdivisions of the musical grid. This is useful for creating rhythmic patterns that are complex and evolving, but synchronized with a musical pulse or any other rhythmic element. The time division control sets the grid division for quantization. With loops set to different lengths and pitches, the quantize control turns the Collage engine into a unique time-based sequencer. Each loop becomes a step in the sequence, with its own set of filter, tune, and loop parameters. By using the scale quantizer, you can ensure the notes of all triggered loops fall within certain harmonic bounds. For example, when playing chords, all notes will automatically align to the notes of your chosen scale. Each loop has its own unique tune settings, which can be entirely separate from the rest. This can be combined with modulation for creative sequencing. For instance, one loop can play back normally, while another has a complex and intricate pitch sequence. In the source browser, you can choose the source sample for your patch. Here, you can find a comprehensive list of every sample included in the library. Samples are categorized by instrument, and tonality. These filters allow you to hone in on specific timbral or harmonic characteristics. A patch can have 2 layers, each with their own source and set of unique loops and parameters. This allows for diverse configurations and multi-layered instrument design. In this example, layer A serves a harmonic purpose, while layer B operates as a more textural layer of percussion. Enabling retrigger activates rhythmic retriggering within a particular loop. Each retrigger utilizes the envelope settings from the shape page. The scatter and jitter parameters introduce timing and volume variations to each trigger, turning an insistent rhythmic sound into something more random and dynamic. When these settings are combined with fast trigger rates, you can delve into granular soundscapes, creating clouds of overlapping grains that randomly ebb and flow. With the engine's dual layer setup, you can create multi-layered granular sound design patches. Here, layer A has its trigger position modulated, creating a smeared granular gesture as you swipe through the sample. Layer B is percussive, with rhythmic transients introduced by the mod wheel. The mix page is where you can transform the spatial environment of your sound. On the left, you can blend various microphone perspectives. On the right is a chain of impulse responses. Each perspective has a distinct spatial characteristic: a dry and hyper-detailed acoustic recording, a hugely reverberant grain silo, a stereo setup of vintage Roland Spring reverb units, and a wall of distorted amplifiers. As well as setting the levels more broadly with the XY pad, you can finally alter the perspective balance using the sliders. Each perspective offers additional controls to customize its tonal quality and stereo imaging. Beyond its role as a traditional mixer for balancing levels, the XY pad can create dynamic spectral audio effects as you move between perspectives. This motion can be automated in 3 different ways. In record mode, you can draw custom repeating paths on the XY pad. Modulation mode generates more structured patterns of movement, using LFOs, envelopes, sequencers, or introducing gestural control via MIDI CC. Finally, movement mode simulates a physical environment, complete with magnetism, instability, and inertia that influence the cursor's movement. The right-hand side of the page contains controls for a series of 4 convolution reverbs. Here, you can simulate the sound of your signal passing through different acoustic spaces, or creatively morph its spectral characteristics. There's an extensive library of impulse responses, with a diverse range of modelled spaces, physical objects, and instrumental recordings. The space category offers natural sounding acoustic environments and characterful reverb units. Objects is a bank of custom recorded artifacts with unique spectral imprints. Finally, the instrument category includes every recorded articulation from the core library, allowing you to reconvolve entire phrases and performances with your input signal. Each convolution slot has a number of additional parameters to tailor its spatial characteristics, including the options to reverse the convolution or adjust its length. When configured in serial mode, each convolution effect feeds into the next, resulting in a cumulative amalgamation of frequencies and spatial properties. final page of the Collage engine is the effects page, where you'll find a sequence of 6 DSP effects. The filter contains a low pass, high pass, and bandpass filter to sculpt the frequency characteristics of your sound. The tape effect represents the sound qualities and quirks of analog tape recordings. There's 4 distinct modulation modes: clone, modal, phase, and tremolo. Each provides a different palette of stereo modulation and dynamic movement. The amp effect simulates the characteristics of a physical amp cabinet setup. Delay is an analog-style echo unit with tape-style feedback effects. Finally, the reverb provides natural spatialization over 3 separate algorithms: room, hall, and plate. Every continuous parameter from each of the 6 effects is individually modulatable, or can be macro-controlled with the XY pad.